Yes, so a pleasant greetings and good evening once again to you guys, everyone that is on the call this evening. Or good night or good day, and thanks first for accepting our invitation and for taking time out of your family time, possibly your work time, your recruiting time, your making money time and play time just to be part of my lecture this afternoon, this evening, and just to be present and to listen to the thoughts, philosophies, and thought-provoking perspectives that I'm about to share with you via um, part, this three-part lecture. You know, one of my late mom's favorite biblical quote is this, and I quote, "For where two or three are gathered together in my name, there I am in the midst of them." One of my mom's favorite quote. And so when I do talks and lectures that are very seldom well attended, I used to interpret and take comfort in this fact that the two or the three being referred to in that quote are me, myself, and I. And even if or when no one would attend, I would do my lecture or my talk anyway. And the evidence is hereby showing that I have far more than me, myself, and I this evening. Secondly, from a very young age in school, 60 plus years ago, back when children were taught to learn, memorize, and recite nursery rhymes, poems, maxims, idioms, and wise quotes, etc., I was taught the importance of this thing called time. And I was taught that there are four things in life that do not come back. Four things that we can never get back. One, the spoken word. Two, the sped arrow. And three, the past life. A sped arrow can be related to a bullet today. The past life. And four, the neglected opportunity. All of which involve and relate to this thing called time. And through study, meditation, contemplation, conversations, and life experiences itself, or themselves, I later learned that at the day or night of my conception in my mother's womb, I was allotted a period of time for which I would be here on this side of reality. And that period of time began at my inspiration date, aka my inspirit date, meaning when I took my first breath and my spirit enters my infant body, commonly referred to today as my birthday. The date when the cycle of my life began. And the cycle is continuing and will continue until my expiry date, my expiration date. So we all have an inspiration date and an expiration date. And you all don't know what that means. Expire, the day or night when my spirit will exit my physical body. So from this fact, I know that as it relates to what I perceive to be this side of reality, We all have a start date and an end date, a beginning and an end. And the period which is our most precious and valuable commodity called time, equal life, is in between, or it lies in between. In other words, between our first breath and our last breath, on this side of reality is our life. Our life lies between the breath. I have also learned, understand, and overstand that there are three things that we can do with this, our most precious and valuable commodity called life. And they are: one, we can spend it or expend it. Expend it. Number two, we can waste it. Number three, we can invest it. And I have also learned, and regardless of how or on whom or on what we may spend it, waste it, or invest it, we can never get any of it back. Once spent, once wasted, once invested, it is forever gone. And I said all that, my friends, just to let you know how much I appreciate you all sharing, spending, wasting, or investing your most precious and valuable commodity with me this evening. Knowing that regardless of how you might receive this, my discourse, your time will be gone forever. It can never be recovered. And so I really appreciate your time. Pardon me if I'm a little bit hoarse, I just came from outside. Now, as an analytical thinker, truth seeker, mystic, and philosopher, among other things, in my sincere attempt at finding rational and logical answers, while on this, my cyclic journey called life, it is my inclination and practice to ask myself, my source, and the universe, if you will, a lot of questions. And two of the most frequent questions that I have been asking are these. Number one, what if when I expire, transpire, and transitioned, possibly to another realm, possibly to another place, or possibly to another reality, will I have to give an account to someone or to something, aka to my source, for how I may have spent my time, for how I may have wasted my time, for how I may have invested my time here? And two, knowing of a fact that I am much closer to my expiration date than I am to my inspiration date, how will I, or how must I now spend the rest of whatever is remaining of my time, equal my life here? In the meantime and between time, I ask that you please contemplate those two questions for yourselves. Now, before I delve any further into this presentation, into this lecture, please let me make a disclaimer or a public declaration and inform one and all that the views, the truths, the perspectives, etc., that I will share with you this evening, and especially those that may relate to RideBNB business opportunity, are not necessarily those that are shared by my senior or junior partners that I'm associated with in RideBNB Community Build Program. But they are mine and mine alone. And you may no doubt notice that I said senior partners and junior partners and not upline or downline, because as a mystic and philosopher, words mean a lot to me. And regrettably, the word upline gives the aura and impression of above, and thus superiority may be invoked, etc. And the word downline can also give the reverse meaning below, and thus subordination might be invoked. While on the other hand, partner means that we have equal roles to play, but only on different levels on which we may play them. Now, according to one of my favorite philosophical prose poems called Desiderata, and I quote, "Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even the dull and ignorant. They too have their story," unquote. And so I am here and will be speaking my truth, which may not be your truth. And even though to some I may appear dull and ignorant, the fact is that I am, or I will be speaking my truth and sharing my story. And I will recommend that every one of us do the same. For according to Paul Anka, in one of his songs called My Way, made famous by the late Frank Sinatra, and I quote, "For what is a man? What has he got? If not himself, he got naught. To say the words he truly feels, and not the words of one who kneels. The record show I took the blow. I did it my way." So this lecture is the Mystic Philosopher's Way. Thank you. As advertised in the invitation that you all have received, the title of this three-part lecture is Know Your Worth. Don't you settle for less. Focus on your goal and follow your plan to achieve it. And the subtitle is Another Perspective on How to Ethically Get the Maximum Payout Benefits from the RideBNB Community Build Smart Contract Compensation Plan. And I ask that you please take note of the operative word or the adverb that I use here to qualify this instructive, or if you prefer, this suggestive statement. The word ethically. How to ethically get, and not just how to get, the maximum payout benefits from the RideBNB Community Build Smart Contract Compensation Plan. But more on that later. And of course, the speaker is yours truly, I, Dr. David G. Jones, aka the Mystic Philosopher. Now, what are my objectives? My objectives are as follows. It's to inform, to educate, and to stimulate the minds of those to whom it may concern. Number two, is to identify potential winners versus potential losers, the duds from the studs, the dead weights from the living helpmates, and to spend time only on those that are determined to succeed and are prepared to do what it takes to win ethically. Number three, to talk to you a bit about this thing called life, and to briefly share with you some of my perspectives on what I think it is about. And another word for life from my perspective is the word time. Time equal life, like life is equal to time. And 3A, it's to encourage you all, my listeners, watchers, wishers, well-wishers rather, and critiques alike, to know your worth. Please note, not just to believe what you're worth, or to believe that you're worth something, but to know, and to know that you know your worth. 3B, and if you think or if you believe that you already know your worth, then part of my objectives is to remind you and hopefully to inspire you to reevaluate your worth. And if you are already doing so, then to ask you to prove your worth, to prove your true worth. In other words, it is to ask you to reevaluate and manifest your true value, and to impress upon you why you should not and why you must not settle for less than your true worth. Why you should not settle for less. Settle for less equal be less. but that you should only strive and settle for more, be more, and much, much more ethically. Now, while on the subject of be more, as opposed to be less, aka bless, the late, great Mr. Jim Rohn has this to say, and I quote, every tree, or rather, every life form seems to strive to its maximum except human beings, unquote. And I repeat, every life form seems to strive to its maximum except human beings. He continued by asking the following rhetorical question, and I quote, how tall will a tree grow? As tall as it possibly can. Human beings, he continued, human beings, on the other hand, have been given the dignity of choice. You can choose to be all, or you can choose to be less. You can choose to be all, or you can choose to be less. You can choose to be more, you can choose to be less. Why not stretch up to the full measure of the challenge and see what all you can do? Unquote, the late and great Mr. Jim Rohn. Now, I find it quite amusing, if not disappointing and disturbing, how most people are quick to boast and tell me that they are blessed, or they are blessed, and how blessed they are, especially when I am trying to tell them that I am more. And them not knowing the power of words, sounds, energy, frequency, vibrations, and that we become what we speak, they even proudly sing how blessed they are. I am blessed, I am blessed, I am blessed. Every day of my life, I am blessed. Listen what the word is telling you. You are blessed. Not knowing the deep spiritual and metaphysical repercussions of such utterances, that instead of increasing, instead of expanding and maximizing, they are literally diminishing themselves in all aspects, I might add. While I, the mystic philosopher, sing, I am more, I am more. And every day of my life, I am more. So part of my objectives this evening, and in this three-part lecture presentation, is to have you ask yourself, how tall can you grow? How tall have you grown? And how taller can you grow? Have you already reached your maximum potential? By what standard are you measuring your growth? Or by what standard have you measured your growth? Are you all that you can be? In other words, have you become all that you can be? Are you still becoming? Or are you fully maxed out and maybe you are just aimlessly and uselessly hanging around the planet, lingering while waiting to exhale? Am I satisfied with my growth? AKA, am I satisfied with my accomplishments? Am I satisfied with my current station in life, etc.? Simply put, part of my objectives this evening and in the rest of this three-part lecture presentation is to hopefully have you examine your own life. And of course, as I examine mine, and by extension, yes, me examining my own life. Now, the late famous Greek philosopher named Socrates, at his trial for impiety and allegedly corrupting the youths or the young people in his days, allegedly corrupting them by having them use their minds and think for themselves and examine themselves, and prior to be subsequently sentenced to death, is said to have uttered this now famous dictum, and I quote, "The unexamined life is not worth living," unquote. Yes, the unexamined life is not worth living. If we can all agree that this dictum is a fact and not just a belief, then we must therefore sensibly and logically conclude that if we are not examining our life, then we are already counted as dead. Something to think about. 3C. It is also to remind you of the fact that anything that is worth having on this side of reality called life is worth expending of our true value to achieve it. 3D. It is to offend some of you out of your comfort zone and into the dreadful realm of success possibilities. And for the record, here is another word that I will ask that you please take some careful note of. And it is the word offend. Now, according to the English language, this is a compound word that is made up of two words. The word off, O-F-F, and the word end. The word off, by meaning and definition, is to move away from the place in question or at a distance. And the word end, by meaning and definition, is the final point, as at the edge of something. The pinnacle, or the pinnacle's edge, etc. So to offend some of you out of your comfort zone is to hopefully disturb you well enough. And in some cases, deliberately push you off the pinnacle of mediocrity. Deliberately push you off the pinnacle of fear. Deliberately push you off the pinnacle of stagnancy, the pinnacle of doubt, the pinnacle of complacency, the pinnacle of inadequacy. You name it or you name them. It's to push you off into the realm and ocean of success possibilities. From my perspective, only people that are consciously or unconsciously care about that will call offend me. Please allow me to give you a practical example of what offend really is, and hopefully you may be able to visualize it taking place and visualize what I'm talking about and not get into your feelings. Eagles are typically known to build their nest and grow their young, aka their eaglets, on cliffs or on steep slopes in canopy of large, tall, and mature coniferous trees, while taking advantage of the natural protection these locations offer. These nests are usually located near water sources, allowing easy access to their primary food source, fish, of course. One may describe or think of the fall or the push from an eagle's nest to be very dangerous, if not very cruel. However, that is exactly what the eagles do to their young. After spending time with them, protecting them, hunting for them, feeding them, nurturing them, and teaching them, at the appointed time when their parent know that they are supposed to be mature now and thus must take responsibility for their own lives and soar the skies for all to see and say, there goes an eagle, they offend them. Their parents offend them, meaning they just kick them out of their nest, aka kick them out of their comfort zone and fly, sink, or be eaten. They are now on their own. And from my perspective, for yours truly, I, the Mystic Philosopher, to push you off any or all of those pinnacles, cliffs, coniferous trees, and steep slopes, is to tell you the truth. It was the late Robert Nesta Marley who once said in one of his songs that the truth is an offense, but not a sin. And by sin, I mean that it is not morally or ethically wrong to speak and tell the truth. And from my perspective, all of the aforementioned pinnacles are both mental, spiritual, physical, and psychological jails. They are prisons. And the great teacher, Yahushua, commonly called Jesus Christ, is alleged to have said, "You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free, free from these prisons." And number 4, my objectives is to share my perspective on how I think we may ethically get the most from the RideBNB community smart contract compensation plan. Number 5, to dissect and share my perspective on how the RideBNB community compensation plan, our smart contract compensation plan, hopefully well enough for us all to understand and hopefully clear up any form of misinterpretation, deception, or confusion that some of us may have. And number 6, certainly much more as we go along. So what is life? From my perspective, this thing called life on this side of reality or on this side of awareness or consciousness is a university, namely TUOL, the University of Life. That is all about learning. University is all about learning. It can be taught of, or it can be best described as a space or a place where we all as humans come to learn. Life is about learning. We are here to learn something, or we are here to learn about some things. And if we are not learning something each day, each moment of our lives, of our time, then we might as well count ourselves dead, static, inactive, a failure, and a waste of time, aka a waste of our lives. And we can also sensibly and logically assume and conclude that if we fail at learning whatever we are supposed to learn here at the University of Life, TUOL, and if our evolution and transition to elsewhere in the universe and possibly beyond is dependent upon us learning and passing our examinations here at the University of Life, then activated common sense will affirm that we will have to keep returning and repeating our life's lessons until hopefully we finally learn and graduate in order to move forward, or possible in order to move in some alternative or alternate direction. In the realm of metaphysics, we say that there are souls that are stuck here because they have not learned their lessons, and they are not learning their lessons in order to advance or in order to migrate to higher realms. And what is learning? Or what is meant by learning? Learning is defined as, and I quote, the acquisition of knowledge or skills through experience, study, or by being taught, unquote. Learning is also defined as the process of acquiring new understanding, new knowledge, new behaviors, skills, values, attitudes, and preferences, etc. And why do we all have to learn? Well, from my perspective, it is because until we learn, or prior to learning, what we must learn, and thereby know, we are all ignorant. We are existing in ignorance. Another word for ignorance is we are existing in darkness. We are all existing in darkness until we know. In other words, until we acquire knowledge or skills through experience, through study, or by being taught, we are all ignorant. And when we are in ignorance, aka when we are in darkness, we all can be easily led astray. We all can be easily deceived. We all can be easily taken advantage of. We all can be easily exploited. And we all can be easily confused sometimes by those or who are themselves in ignorance. And as such, pretending to know, or even pretending that they know. But oftentimes, if not most of the time, we can and we are being led astray, deceived, and confused by those who have gotten only a glimpse of the light. But now that we know that these are just some of the things that we are here to learn. Now, what are some of the other things that we are here to learn? And hopefully we are learning. We are here to learn about our environment. Sorry. We are here to learn about the universe as we think we know it. We are here to learn about survival and how to survive. We are here to learn about money. We are here to learn what it really and truly is, what money really and truly is. We are here to learn how we may honestly or dishonestly, ethically or unethically earn it, gain it, possess it, use it, and how to control it. And above all, we are here to learn how not to let it meaning money, possess us, use us, and control us to our own detriment. AKA, we are here to learn how not to let money destroy us. Because remember, as it is said, the fool and his money shall. Finish that for me, somebody. And finally, for now, we are here to learn about ourselves. We are here to learn about our humanity, our weaknesses, our vulnerabilities. We are here to learn about each other, our imperfections, our cunningness, our deceitfulness, our selfishness, our greed, our self-destructiveness, and many other of our flaws, etc. And above all, we are here to learn that except for possibly the knowledge that we may gain while being here, regardless of the status and power that we may achieve here and now, regardless of all our noble accomplishments, we shall all leave here just as how we came, with nothing. And please notice that I said possibly the knowledge we may gain here, because I don't know if the knowledge we gain here will be of any use elsewhere or over there, wherever there is. And thus, it is written, and I quote, "Then he said to them, watch out, be on your guard against all kinds of greed. Life does not consist in the abundance of possessions," unquote. Another translation renders it like this, and I quote, "But he said to them, beware and be on your guard against every form of greed, for not even when one is affluent does his life consist of his abundance," unquote. Please, for I will be talking much more about this very dangerous, this very infectious, contagious, venomous, and lethal virus called greed later in this lecture. Know your worth. I will continue my presentation titled Know Your Worth and another perspective on how to ethically get the maximum payout benefit from the RideBNB Community Smart Compensation Plan by reading an 18th century poem by a woman poet by the name of Jessie B. Rittenhouse. And the poem is called My Wage. After which I will give you a summary overview, and then I will delve much deeper into the RideBNB smart contract, the potential income that we may gain from it ethically and right. First, the poem, and I quote, I bargained with life for a penny. The equivalent of a penny today, I might add, is like a cent. I bargained with life for a penny, and life would pay no more. However, I begged at evening when I counted my scanty store. For life is a just employer. He gives you what you ask. But once you have set the wages, why? You must bear the task. Unquote. Ladies and gentlemen, my fellow team Be More members, RideBNB community members, entrepreneurs, and health and wellness enthusiasts, I deliberately choose this poem in an attempt to draw your attention to the fact that RideBNB is not the first and only original smart contract of its kind, but that RideBNB smart contract is modeled of the real original smart contract called Life. Life is indeed the first original smart contract, and it changed not. For if you bargain with life for 1 penny, life will pay you no more. Therefore, my status, our status, be it financial or otherwise today, at this moment, is a direct result of what we have bargained with life for yesterday and the day before. So as from this moment unto the rest of your days, our days, I ask that whenever you hear the words RideBNB smart contract, or whenever you think of the words RideBNB smart contract, I ask that you hear and think of life, but more on that later. In order for you to make potentially multi-millions of dollars, or at the very least, in order for you to make potentially the amount of money that you have bargained with life for, or that you think, know, or believe that you truly deserve from this blockchain smart contract community build project called RideBNB, and possibly in order to make the amount of money that can help make the rest of your life as stress-free and as comfortably as is humanly possible. From my perspective, the following 7 requirements are mandatory, meaning the following 7 conditions must be met. Requirement number 1, you must know. Here are just 9 things that from my perspective, you must know, or we must know, and know that you know in order for you to be successful in this RideBNB, or in almost all, if not all, of anything that you are doing. Number 1, you must know that ignorance is a deadly and destructive thing. Ignorance is the root of all poverty, aka all lack. Ignorance is the root of all illnesses. Ignorance is the root of all unhappiness. Ignorance is the root of all fears. Ignorance is the root of all failures. Anything that we have ever failed at in and during our lifetime can be rightfully attributed to our ignorance of it. Just think about it for a moment. The reason why we had failed any exams that we have taken in our lives were because we did not know the right answers and the right procedures, etc. And the reasons why we did not know the right answers and procedures, if or when we may be brave enough to admit, were because we did not study. the subject or the lessons well enough and diligently enough, the evidence will also show and prove that we did not observe and practice the 6 P's. Who remember the 6 P's? Namely, prior proper planning, or if you prefer, prior proper preparation prevents poor performance. It is alleged that the prophet, by the name of Hosea, and I quote, he once said, "My people are destroyed." Why? Because of lack of knowledge. And lack of knowledge is just another way of saying my people are, or people are destroyed because of ignorance. We are destroyed and are being destroyed because of ignorance. Number 2, you must know what you must know. And what do I mean by that? You must know what you must know in order to succeed at what you do and what you are doing. Example, you must know what you need to know in order to win and win big in RideBNB. You must know the smart contract and how it works in order not to be tossed to and fro by any and every slick presenter that may come along with their version and modification and for their own personal gain. Thus, you must know the meaning of the acronym KISS, keep it simple. Number 3, you must know, understand, and understand the meaning, definition, and manifestations of these 3 words along with their practical applications. And what are these 3 words? These 3 words are: number 1, love. You must know. Number 2, respect. And number 3, tolerance. You must know when people love you versus when people respect you, or they just tolerate you. You must know how and when to accept or reject these 3 individual realities. And how do you know if or when people either love you, respect you, or they may just be tolerating you, or just tolerate you, or both? Now, I'm not sure if I know or can know and fully define and understand what this thing called love really is. And so that we all could agree on that. That's a very deep philosophical statement, philosophical word from my perspective. And so I will just share my perspective. Mainly, I will mention love, but mainly on the other 2, namely respect and tolerance. Tolerance, from my perspective, is when people don't really love you, whatever you may believe or conceive this thing called love to be, or even like you, let alone respect you. But due to circumstances beyond their control, they just may have to put up with you until they are able to somehow get rid of you, or you get rid of yourselves, one way or the other. Therefore, to tolerate someone or something does not mean that you love them or respect it or them. For example, your boss may not even like to see you physically in his or her presence, and can't take you. But maybe just because you are a good worker and an excellent producer, consequently, you are adding monetary value to the company. And in the current situation, he or she is not able to successfully replace you. And so he or she has to keep you hanging around, even though deep down they know, and sometimes you also know, that they can't stand you. And it is quite unfortunate that some of us confuse tolerance with love and respect. Now, respect. If or when we respect something or someone, we will treat it or them with the highest form of esteem and admiration, or in the highest esteem and admiration. And how do I know if someone respects me? And how can you know if someone really and truly respects you? Here is one example from my perspective. From my perspective, if or when I think highly enough of someone and take the liberty to invite him or her to listen to a RideBNB live presentation, or if or when I send them a video or audio presentation and simply ask them to please watch it or listen to it, and please get back to me within a day or two with any question, or simply say, yes, I'm interested, or no, I'm not interested. And if that person did not watch or listen to it, and assuming that they watch or listen to it, but did not get back to me and could not even find the time to and grant me the common courtesy of accepting my calls if or when I try to follow up with them, then that tells me loud and clear that that individual, how highly I may think of them or may value their judgment and intelligence, the evidence is here by telling me that that individual or those individuals just don't respect me as I may respect them. Those individuals don't think highly enough of me as I may think highly enough of them. The truth be told, and the evidence will show, that sometimes we are people's friends, but they are not our friends. Sometimes some of the people, if not all the people that we either look up to or holding them up high, are not appreciative of our respect and admiration of them. But instead, they are now looking down on us, sometimes in a disrespectful manner. They simply don't care enough about us or respect us as we may care about them and respect them. Sometimes we are our brothers and sisters' keepers, but they are not our keepers. We may have their backs, but trust me, they don't have ours. The same is true when we call people, especially those that we truly respect and care about, and they not only ignore our calls, but they will not even send us back a text to say that they are busy, let alone return our calls. If or when you see them and talk to them, especially in public, they appear as if they are your best buddies. But as soon as they turn their backs, that is where it all ends. Here's another example. Sometimes we are the first to call them and tell them about a business opportunity and feed them information with whatever information that they may have, may need or may have about the business opportunity. We may have and can share with them. But you later discover that they went on and signed up in the business with someone else without even informing you. They are really under no obligation to sign up with you, but at least common courtesy without even informing you that they did. And sometimes we know of a fact that these people don't care for us or respect us, but because we honestly care for them and respect them, we still share everything that we find with them. But life experiences have now taught me that respect is and must be reciprocal. And that is why I have stopped that bull manure. And I think that we all should stop wasting time on those people that simply do not respect us. 3 strikes for me now and you're out. Now, number 4, you must know yourself, aka know thyself. The aphorism, know thyself, does not only envelop and express a profound practical and philosophical truth, but the evidence has shown that from time immemorial, some of us humans have discovered that in this life, on this side of reality, the path to success, power, liberty, or freedom and happiness lies within the knowledge of one's self. And those of us that are devoid of the aforementioned are not only doomed to failure, but are also doomed to a life of poverty, oppression, misery, and distress. And as such, we have been admonished by all the great sages of old to know thyself. Here is a quick quote from Wikipedia on this great maxim, know thyself. And I quote, know thyself is a philosophical maxim which was inscribed upon the temple of Apollo in the ancient Greek precinct of Delphi. The best known of the Delphic maxims. It has been quoted and analyzed by numerous authors throughout history and has been applied in many ways, although traditionally attributed to the 7 sages of Greece or to the god Apollo himself. The inscription likely had its origin in a popular proverb, unquote. The late 771 to 256 BC Chinese military general, strategist, philosopher, writer, and author of the renowned book called The Art of War had this to say about knowledge of oneself or knowledge of self. And I quote, if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. If you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will have suffered a defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb to every battle, unquote. Number 5, you must know the truth. Or rather, you must know and know that you know how much you're truly worth. Or if you prefer, you must know and know that you know how much you truly value. Number 6, you must know and know that you know that only you can place your true worth, aka your true value, on you. It's quite unfortunate, but very true, that the value that most of us have of ourselves is the value that others have placed on us, be they our family, be they our friends, our doctors, our pastors, our spouses, our wives, our husbands, our boyfriend and girlfriend, our financial advisors, our employers, our communities, our uplines and downlines, sidelines, and other lines, our societies, or even our governments, etc. The truth is that the value that most of us have of ourselves is that which is placed on us by others. And from my perspective, that is why so many of us are suffering from low self-esteem issues and inferiority complexes. Some of us are afraid to talk to other people about RideBNB business opportunity because deep down we are suffering from all kinds of complexes and therefore think that they are better than us. And that is something for each of us as individuals to seriously think about. Number 7, you must know how much you value yourself. You must know what value you place on yourself and not what value that may be placed on you by others who don't and can't know you. Number 8, you must know if you are worth less or if you are worth more. If you are priceless or if you are priced more. Number 9, you must know how to act and treat yourself in accordance with your own value, aka in accordance with your own worth. Remember, the things that we cherish, we treat it with dignity and respect. Things that we don't cherish, we may misuse and abuse. And number 10, you must know the value of time. You must know that your time or the time that is allotted to you is your limited resources, your most limited resources, and that the amount of useful time you may have left to get things done is not known or guaranteed. You must know that time waits on no man. Now, requirement number 2, you must bargain or negotiate with life for what you know you are worth. And then set a goal or set some goals on how to receive it or them. and when to receive it or then. For example, if you know your worth, if you know you're worth the minimum wage job that you may currently have, or you may be looking for, or if you know you're worth a job paying you more, then bargain or negotiate with life for what you know you're worth. Then set your goals, and I can guarantee you that life will deliver to you whatever you tell it that you're worth, and no more or no less. And in the case of RideBNB, you must have a goal of the exact amount of BNB, a definite and decisive amount of BNB and its equivalent in fiat currency or fiat money that you will receive when you swap it, exchange it, or convert it. For as the late Thomas Carlyle once said, a man or woman without a goal is like a ship, a sail without a rudder. A rudder, unquote. And it's quite unfortunate, but very true that from my perspective and angle of observation, most of us are just sailing through the stormy seas of life without a compass or a rudder, or if you prefer, without a plan or a goal. Most of us are just floating along, drifting to and fro like logs on troubled waters. And the evidence will show, and the evidence has shown that most of us are where we currently are and have ended up where we are today, and the status we share today as a result of not having and setting written goals and a written plan of action to achieve them. My question to you all right now, my listeners, and this call and this presentation, and those of you who are hearing the sound of my voice, or will hear the sound of my voice, is this: how many of us on this call can honestly say that you have a written goal, a written plan, and taking action, along with a set date and when you will achieve that goal or your goal? If you do, please type yes in the chat. And to your own self, be true. Don't lie to me. It just means that you have to make the change from this moment on. When you finish this call, write your goal, set it. And please don't tell me that you have it written in your head. The evidence will show and prove that that is where it will forever stay, in your head. A lot of people, if not most people's goals and dreams are in people's heads, where they were and are conceived and where they died. And that is why it is said that the cemetery is the final resting place for most people's dreams and goals, because they have it in their head. If you listen to most of, if not all of the people that have had and are continuing to have massive success in life, and also in the case of RideBNB so far, you will notice that they have this one thing in common. They can tell you the day they started in this business or in their business and exactly what they did, their plan to achieve their success. You must have a goal of the exact amount of BNB and a definite and decisive amount of BNB and its equivalent in fiat currency, aka dollars, that you will receive on a definite date and a definite time. And why? Because, as it is written, a double-minded person is unstable in all his or her ways. You must have a plan, a written plan, I might add, to achieve or to receive it. In other words, you must have a plan and work the plan accordingly. Most people don't plan to fail, they only fail to plan, according to John J. Buckley. Requirement number 4, you must start as a beginner in the RideBNB business, and sooner and the sooner the better. And the position, and from the position of level, the position or level of a beginner, you must practically work your way up the ladder as the developer or developers of the RideBNB community built smart contract intended for us to do all to do. No shortcut or buying our way to higher levels or positions without having the people to show for it. In other words, you cannot enter this community build project without starting off as a beginner. You may come to the program with the mindset of an ambassador, the mindset of a mentor, or even the mindset of an emperor. But regardless of the mindset you may come with, the fact is that everyone must start as a beginner. And as the saying goes, the journey towards 1,000 miles begins with the first step. And the rest of the journey is done one step at a time, aka through upgrade. And the cost to purchase a beginner's package and starting as a beginner is 0.0044 BNB, which at the time of preparing this presentation is approximately $2 to $3 US. Requirement number 7. You must personally recruit or sponsor, refer, or pay it forward for 2 like-minded people. 2 like-minded people who will duplicate exactly what you just did for them, meaning they too must recruit, sponsor, refer, or pay it forward for 2 people who will and must duplicate what they did. And please note, not that they may duplicate, but that they will duplicate. Requirement number 6. Yes, I'm winding down. Requirement number 6. The moment you fulfill requirement number 2, you will immediately become qualified to earn money with our RideBNB. In fact, not only will you immediately become qualified to earn money with RideBNB, but you will immediately earn money with RideBNB. In other words, money will be deposited immediately and directly into your digital wallet. As you shall shortly see, you will immediately get paid with RideBNB. Requirement number 7, the moment you get paid by having your 2 paid people, aka your 2 community group builders and business partners, you must immediately inform your sponsor, notify him or her of your qualification and your intent to upgrade to the next level, or if you prefer, your intent to upgrade to the next step towards your goal. This will be the end of part 1. And so I shall not detain your patience or infringe on your time much longer, ladies and gentlemen, but ask that you please join me for the continuation of part 2 come tomorrow, where I will be answering the questions and sharing my perspective on what is RideBNB. In the meantime, and between time, I will that you be more and much, much more, and definitely not be less, aka bless. For I am the Mystic Philosopher. Ashe, 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 I say. I will now ask if you have any question or give me your feed forward, for which I will appreciate. Thank you.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am. You can unmute your mic.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you. Are you hearing me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yes, David, it's Sandra. That was an excellent, presentation. A lot of what you have said we know, but sometimes it's good to be reminded,
No problem.
Yes, David, that was a very good insight. It actually take me back to thinking. You got us rethinking actually, of what this life is to us and the changes that we can also make to reach the goals that we wanted to reach in life.